Grog.
Hey everyone, it's a Sideshed podcast with me, Peter Fickling, Keri Warbis and Matthew Weir. Well, Keri, you just said it's been a fantastic week. Is that in your personal life or the Archers?
The Archers. My personal life's okay. It's ticking along all right. But The Archers was action-packed, I thought, this week.
Yeah.
So much going on. Lots of ups and downs with different characters. I was like, ooh, Debbie's back. And then I was like, oh, God, Debbie's annoying.
We're going to need the bleep machine tomorrow, aren't we, to cover your review of Debbie's behaviour at the end of the week?
Oh, yes. I mean, in some ways, she's right. Obviously, Brian has been awful and shagged around and caused grief. But I don't know if now is the time to reveal all of that to him. You know,
No.
she literally flew back from Hungary and listed all his shags, didn't he? There wasn't just Siobhan, there was Caroline and Mandy Beesborough, and he was like, yes, all right. And she said, and they're just the ones we know about. She didn't just say that. She literally said he'd killed Jenny, basically, didn't she?
I like the way Adam pointed that out. She went, well, you know how he can never really, like hear you out when you're saying you're sorry. And Adam went, so you just thought you'd say he killed Mum?
Yeah. Before all of that, she was annoying me when she was going, shall I get you some packing tape? You know, the brown thick stuff. And he was like, no, I'm fine. Are you going out tonight? I can use the spare key. No, I just want a quiet night in. Oh, well, come to Kate's for dinner then. And she's like, I don't want to go to Kate's and I don't want packing tape. Just fuck off. And then she brought the packing tape round. And what happened? He was bursting Joy's bosom with a brooch.
Let's chuck an ad in and then we can discuss Joy and her potential relationship with Brian, because I am very, very keen for that to happen. So you said bursting a brooch. Is that a euphemism? Because I want to hear Joy, and Brian smoking a cigarette after he's, been in amongst the jewellery box. That sounds horrible, Peter. Go on. No, that really... He's had sex with Joy.
Box.
I was about to say, when he's had sex with Joy, I want to hear the post-coital cigarette. That's a couple I really want to happen in 6 months' time.
Post-coital.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Brian.
I did say a bit ago, I know I'm no Mystic Matthew, but I did
No, we'll get to that.
Call Joy Geordie Jenny not that long ago.
It's an upgrade as far as I'm concerned.
I don't think she's his type. Oh, actually, has he got a type? I don't know. She's got a fanny, hasn't she?
I was waiting for you to be listed when Debbie was reeling off all of his past indiscretions, Keri. But
God, that would be so good. Can you make that happen? You two are really magical with strange mishmashes of things. Can you just sort of go, Keri Warbis?
Well, let's see.
Yes, all right.
Let's see what happens when you return from Australia, Keri.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I give Matthew to see how I gave us an elegant period of time to make it happen now.
I have to get in touch with Tamsin.
Oh, no, I don't want to get in touch with Tamsin. She's done bad work this week, very bad work. I mean, her acting is always cracking, but I cannot stand Debbie. I don't want anything to do with her at all.
There was a little moment, because one of the big things that happens in The Archers, it happens in every soap, and it happened this week as well. People either miss what someone is saying, as we had with Justin, the coronation and the Eurovision mix-up, or they don't let the other person finish. So the situation escalates, doesn't it, before they can explain themselves. And there was a really realistic bit of acting when Brian said to Debbie when she was on a rant, what I do know, and she was talking and he just doubled down, didn't he? Went, what I do know is, and it almost sounded like that went in by accident and they left it in because it sounded natural.
Yeah, I mean, she hit the ground running with her naturalism. It was like she'd never been away. I thought it was good, and it was lovely to hear her. She's got an extraordinary voice. But before not too long, I was glad she was going back to Hungary. There was a moment where there was the hint that she might stay, wasn't there?
No, they can't afford her.
Yeah. Well, even like once a month popping up.
I was doing that mental maths when there was the scene today. I was like, they can't. And then immediately I was like, it's absolutely not happening. The idea that Tamsin Greig's going to give up her, career in Hollywood / top billing on Channel 4 and ITV for Ambridge.
Let's have the Green Wing represented by getting Tamsin back And then Trevor Fry comes down and she falls in love with Julian Rhind-Tutt's character and they live together.
Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I've barely seen The Green Wing, but weren't they an item on that?
Yeah, they were. It was really good, that.
Yeah, my dad watched it. I haven't really seen it. But I kind of was thinking, but then they did a little explainer afterwards. I was like, what does this mean for Stella then? Because Debbie seemed quite suspicious of Stella anyway earlier in the week when she was poking Adam about it, wasn't she?
Mm.
And Adam was saying, no, it's great. We've got someone running the farm, which is what we always wanted. Brian could quite easily dispose of Stella. We found that out when her contract is up.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think not Tamsin, what's her name? Debbie, that's it. Do you think because she said, like, when she's in Hungary, she kind of imagines Ambridge as it always has been. And I think it took her by surprise that there were lots of things that weren't the same.
I can totally relate to that.
Can you?
As a sensation of going back to places.
And I think maybe the things she was saying about Stella were to do with that. It's just a protectiveness and a slight jealousy, maybe, that she's having the life she would have been having, possibly. So maybe nothing really suspicious.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It just, she did seem a bit uptight, Succession-esque about the fact that there was an outsider running the farm. Weirdly, of all people, it took Adam to kind of calm things down. I tell you what, it's a pretty low bar when Debbie said to Adam, well, the thing is, Brian won't even listen to you. Well, that's kind of everyone, Debbie.
And also, what about the Hungarians who've got Debbie sorting stuff out?
Yeah.
She's an outsider there. So, suck it up.
Yeah, well, it ain't happening anyway, is it? So
yeah.
It was interesting, wasn't it? Because Debbie kind of got worse and worse as the week went on, and her kind of trajectory was the exact opposite of Jim. At the beginning of the week, I was thinking to myself, oh God, the recording of the cider shed's going to be awkward, having to discuss the fact that Jim might be being a bit of a prick. And actually, I'll go as far as say he was being a bit of a prick at the beginning of the week, like this kind of like weird NIMBYism, excessive, turning up at a neighbour's farm to kind of protest. There's all a bit performative and nonsensical, but all was forgiven by the end of the week. His little love-in with Chelsea, being taught how the internet worked. Then his very elegant little sachet out, no fucks given, as he kind of just went, oh yes, it's been lovely. I'll give you a good review. Always forgiven.
I don't think he was a prick, though. Because he said, I know it is NIMBYism a bit, but why it's perhaps justified, because he made the point he'd be fine with it if it was on the Borchester Road, which is where you'd think it would be when that's where the cars are going to be going past, isn't it?
Here in Folkestone, there's Sir Roger DeHaan. He's like a Tory, muddy pot who's like throwing cash around trying to do up the town. Anyway, it's vaguely controversial. And down at the bottom of the cliff, he's building this huge, big modern development, right? So you walk along the beach and you see the big modern development. And then right next to it are some Georgian houses, big 5-story tall Georgian houses, two terraces of them. And actually, if you put aside your kind of like familiarity with the architecture, they're way more out of context with the nature and the kind of like the shape of the cliffs than the modern buildings are. So everyone's like, oh my God, those horrible old buildings. And I kind of feel like actually, if you went around the village, it's like, the first time a telephone box goes up, or actually like cricket completely dominates the green. It's why people can't play frisbee on a Saturday afternoon because there's bloody cricket being played for the whole day, and it dominates it. But all these things that we sort of take for granted as part of beautiful, bucolic British life are actually just sort of like they're much worse than a petrol station's 1,000 times more of an eyesore than a kind of like charging station.
I just think from a practical point of view, though, how many cars go through Ambridge?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's complete fucking bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah. Not necessarily to do with what it looks like. It's just why the fuck are you putting it there?
Agriculture and farming, is a bit strapped for massive machinery and like things sticking out of the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, ugly looking corrugated sheds and stuff.
Absolute nonsense.
Although I was very, very happy to hear Matthew being right, and I enjoyed, who is it? Justin was on the phone. Oh, I think they might be onto us, or I'm glad we kept it. That was what he said, wasn't it? I'm glad I kept it separate from Damara.
He was chatting to his contact as if.
Yeah, I thought that as well, as if. It was thinly veiled, wasn't it? In the shop, you had Jim, you had David. He was buying shed loads of chocolate to stay up for lambing. And I thought, has Jill been slacking on the snack making? Tusk, tusk for the sort of 110-year-old who's normally cooking all the time. Yeah, so there was Jim, Justin and David all in the shop together, weren't there, talking about it. And Justin was chucking out quite a bit of knowledge about the EV world. And no one noticed. So, but we as an audience knew the enemy was within in that scene, didn't we? Before that phone call, I think.
Yep. To my untrained eye, it just looks like 4 standard 8 gigawatt units in a standard L-shaped array, ready to take anything from the Tesla to the new Ford charging models. Yes, nothing unusual there.
Yeah, the bloody idiots, Jim and David, aren't they? I mean, it'll be good when it is revealed that Justin is all, involved in this, all tied up in it.
How do you think the famous Ambridge class system is going to work? Because obviously David, who had to sell some land in order to pay off a debt to another minted person, and he's well within his rights to do so, But then when Justin gets found out, I feel like, will Jim have him up against the wall metaphorically? Will the village be in uproar? I think it'll just be like with Brian. No one's given Brian a really hard time about the poisoning, apart from Emma, I think, a bit, didn't she? I think Justin will get away with it.
Like the Tory party.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting away with everything.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't think anyone's going to hold Justin to account.
Well, in terms of the fact that he hasn't really done anything wrong, has he? We had a bit of chat about it on our Facebook page. I think it was TR Talk said that she thought this was quite out of character for Jim. There's a couple of people pointed out, I think it was Amber said, why isn't Mia all over this?
Yes.
But it is green, so it is kind of up Mia's alley, I guess. I don't know.
But little Cyrus keeps asking me about why we don't have an electric car. And I've been trying to explain to him the complexities of having, how our beaten up old 2005 Toyota Corolla, replacing that with a great big lump of, rare metals and, battery materials.
There's a reason I'm not a parent, because I always think I'd reel off the Family Guy line. It does a flashback of him in a museum. He asks the curator in the museum, why did the dinosaurs die out? And the guy just goes, because you touch yourself at night.
We're all doomed then, aren't we? But why is it out of character for Jim? I don't think it.
Oh, I don't think it is, but other people do.
Yeah. I'm sort of asking this as a, throwing it in there question.
I think there's a false narrative, isn't there? Like the idea that all black people vote Democrat and all Democrats are therefore environmentalists and all environmentalists, so you create this kind of daisy chain of kind of positive associations. So it's like, and it's like this kind of homogeneity, and it's rude to black people to turn them into a kind of homogeneity, and it's rude to left-wing people to kind of deny them the right to also be anti-environmental.
He isn't though. If it's on the Borchester Road, he's fine with it. He's all for it. It's just in a silly place.
But the confusion comes because I think people see it in this kind of simplistic, eco equals good. Therefore, it's weird that Jim's against it. He's engaging in subtleties that most of us don't engage in.
I got a question, guys. Peter, you might have to send me the bell sounds for this. If David had been arrested for dumping massive piles of hay on the protesters, would he have got out on bail?
Oh, sorry, Matthew. No bells for you.
That was actually funny.
I only put the bells in last week because I had no choice. There was no way of editing around it without insulting them. So I was like, I had to chuck them in there.
It was ahead of its time, I think. Whatever the joke was, I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, years ahead of its time.
Speaking of Brookfield, I've got a theory. I haven't heard Adam in a nighttime scene for a long time. It's always just daytime scenes. I reckon Adam is a werewolf, and it's him that's attacking the lambs.
I thought it was Justin biting the lambs.
This is a bit pertinent, actually, because there's been a big cat sighting around the back of my dad's place.
Oh, one of those.
The neighbour who has lambs, they just found a single blooded paw of one of the quite not fully grown lambs, but big enough.
Lambs don't have paws.
Hoof, you know what I mean?
Come on, Matthew. You're from the countryside.
Little Matthew, growing up in the countryside, made it all the way to the Science Ship podcast.
This is very relevant. So there's something picking off the lambs next door to Dad's.
These big cat stories, are they always in the West Country?
No, they're all over. I mean, there was
Are
there
they?
was one in Scotland a few years ago. They actually had to admit did happen. Like people just do daft things, like release lynxes out into the wild because they haven't got a license to keep.
Ah,
But the famous one's Bodmin Moor, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Bodmin Moor. Yeah, because the Dangerous Animals Act came in the mid-70s, didn't it? And they reckon a load of aristocratic people had like these animals.
Keri, do you like the way you said that? Matthew, you just said to me and Keri, it came out in the 70s, didn't it? Like Keri and I would have your memory for kind of like ancient
For
bylaws
animal
governing.
acts.
But the sightings of these animals, if you look at a diagram of them versus when this act came in.
Yeah, we're not going to do that though, you see.
Well, let me just do it right now. No, it goes wildly up after they were told, like, get a license of X £1,000 or destroy the animal, and I think a lot of people just released them.
Bloody
No.
hell. Oh, I
Yeah.
hope there is a big cat in Ambridge.
Yeah, it could be quite fun.
They did say, though, it looked a bit like a terrier, and I have no idea who has a dog that's a terrier in Ambridge.
Oh, but this could work quite well if it's a Ruby, which is a snappy little dog.
Ruby just chews slippers, he said. I thought, yeah, I bet he bloody doesn't. Lamb's wool slippers.
And sheep.
The fact they called in Harrison to investigate was a bit of a worry. I thought, like, he would have had Alistair put down every dog in the village.
Yeah. I know, because someone, I can't remember who it was, said, oh, have you caught the offending dog owner? And he went, no. Well, of course, Harrison hasn't caught anybody.
Was this? They asked him in the pub just as they were about to have their meeting. He went, "No, I'm off duty." If you can imagine Harrison just like, "For fuck's sake, don't involve me in crime, mate."
It's a civil matter.
Yeah, yeah.
What are they doing with that character?
What, Harrison?
Yeah. It's just bananas at the moment. Like,
Affair with Paul, make it happen.
you think so?
Well, Paul wants it to happen, doesn't he? He remembers his Jesus, doesn't he?
Well, via Denise, though, wasn't it?
No, I thought the implication was he saw him because he was watching Denise. Paul was in the audience.
Maybe, yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe he enjoyed watching Harrison getting nailed.
Yes, he's thought of nothing more since.
He did sound quite disappointed when they were when Harrison said that he was married. I thought.
Yes, he definitely did. But he did that made a better line later when he said he really liked Eurovision, etc. And he went, "Are you sure you've got a missus?"
Yeah. I mean, Paul is a cartoon homosexual, isn't he? He's ticking all the gay bingo card scores, left, right, and centre.
He's got more camp, I think, since he's become a kind of full-time character.
It's like skipping into the pub. Ah, yeah. Oh, I love with his flags, getting Justin to wave the flag. And
actually, someone did at the Cider Shed pod last night and said, wasn't Paul dumped on Justin's table at the Hunt Ball? And that rings a bell. It was either Paul or Rory. No, Rory turned into a little Nazi at the Hunt Ball and started like chasing people around within 2 seconds of getting back to Ambridge. But I think when they did the seating arrangement, Paul and Rory didn't, I think they got stitched up on the seating. One of them ended up sitting next to Justin.
Oh, so is it wrong that, because he introduced himself, didn't he? So, well, I'm Paul.
I'd imagine they haven't got that wrong, but it did ring a bell. I'd have to go back and have a listen.
You do that, Matthew.
I haven't finished looking at the correlation of big cats and the Dangerous Animals Act of 1976 yet, Keri. Oh, by the way, quick little review, Keri. We'll do a little review within a review show. Keri and I had a little chat the other day about the fact there's a new MH370 video, the plane that disappeared. I watched it, all 3 episodes back to back. Keri, I'll save you 3 hours. They don't know where it fucking is.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, my mate James, I was out with him last night. He said the same, actually. I'll swerve that. I was considering downloading it to watch on my flight.
Deadwood, Keri. Deadwood.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what a treat.
I've touted watching that because I've never seen it, so we might get round to that.
Speaking of Deadwood, Adam. No, we've done him, haven't we?
No, but it's still 10 out of 10. I think that's one of the best segues I've ever heard. Yeah.
Thanks, lads.
But, yeah. He was.
Yeah, go on. No, go. You go.
No. I don't have anything to say.
Oh, come on. You were just going to launch into something. You were like, he was. Oh, God, so fucking good this week. That's what you were going to say.
Well, I mean, I have irritated you two by not being kind of like anti-Adam. I think it's just because he's stuck in the middle of all this shite, and I feel a bit bad for him. The thing I was saying earlier on with Harrison, like they've done some very strange things with him recently. Like you were, like now that he's basically completely thrown in the towel on trying to be a policeman. There's all of this stuff with the Eurovision. There's the flirting with Paul, which I think definitely happened. I was interested to hear you to say that you thought that Paul was disappointed that he was married. I thought there was a little kind of a spark there.
Oh, Harrison isn't flirting. He's clueless.
Oh, okay, right. So he's just like a
Properly.
he's just like a kind of like a mirror. He's just bouncing back whatever comes his way. So yeah, and then it's just mad that he's become this. He's the least likely Linda ever. It's insanity. Do you not think?
Is he the least likely one to have loved the Eurovision for so long? Mind you, he did do that. I'm now getting flashbacks to, do you remember when he did that strange celebration for something and he got an inflatable pool in the back garden and like flamingos and stuff. Am I hallucinating?
We had a hot tub.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, but he went very camp with that, didn't he? Do you remember?
Well, there was one evening that Fallon was in the hot tub and he did like a cocktail evening for just him and her. Yeah, and he was just, it was during the monologues, wasn't it? It was like, there she is, my wife. Look at her in the hot tub. I'm just going to make another daiquiri.
Definitely not gay. That's my wife. I fancy her. I'm definitely not confused. Fancy the crap out of that woman now.
Yeah, I think it's my wife. I'm not entirely sure. It's a civil matter.
Fallon, love, will you lie on your front and talk deep again, will you? There you go, lovely. Yeah, fantastic, yeah.
Have another daiquiri.
I mean, we've kind of gone past him, but I do want to just say how much David losing his shit made me laugh this week.
Oh my God, that episode. Let's talk about Monday's episode, which involved David sounding like a Dalek.
Yeah,
I'm
were
doing
excited.
It. I am dialing the number.
It was real staccato, wasn't it? I know. What do you expect me to do about it?
Yeah. Yes. It's so like a Dalek that could be made if there's a Dalek sound effect. I'm doing it. I am dialing the number.
I know. What do you expect me to do about it?
Something like that going over David's voice.
Or Kirsty on 1.5.
Yeah. It was so brilliant, that episode. I think, David just went absolutely postal. Ben was quite good with that. He was just going, let Jim do what he wants. Calm down, Dad. You're not helping.
But Ben, he's smearing shit on the walls.
Yeah, that's fine. It's better than the way that you've decorated it.
Pulpus Stinkius Maximus. I love it.
Oh, I love Harrison earlier in the week when he spoke Latin. He went, "What? I don't speak Italian."
Yeah, he can't even fathom that, can he? He's such a cretin. He's such a good character because he is so vacuous, isn't he?
That's a good point. They don't. Some of the characters are written to be really thick, but you have very few are just sort of written to be kind of like absolute, like 2 IQ points away from kind of like hospitalization.
Yeah, flatlining.
Yeah, but he's so nice. He kind of gets away with it. Like no one would ever call Harrison out for being stupid.
Yeah, and also something to do with the northern accent as well. It's like, oh, hello. It's just sort of he can just get away with it somehow. No one else has noticed in the whole village that he's absolutely like it's just some cretin. But David going nuts was so good because he's been up lambing and carving and eating loads of chocolate. He's off his face, isn't he, with tiredness. And then the other bit of Monday's episode was the intercom conversation through the window.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, Susan and Clary. Oh, that I was so laughing. It's something about the sound effect of the intercom voice, which is, can you hear me? Asking each other questions about cheese. And so what's rennet then? It's a sort of substance.
Comes from the lamb's spleen, doesn't it? Rennet?
Does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, maybe it's Helen who's tearing those lambs apart then to get the rennet out.
I like Keri's theory that she's that Helen's got the taste of blood again, though.
Yeah, she's going round the
Exactly, yeah.
Ambridge fields, getting rennet for free from everyone's lamb stomachs.
Rennet is a complex set of enzymes produced in the stomachs of ruminant mammals.
All right, Susan. We use Lactococcus lactis. The bacteria turns the lactose into lactic acid, which helps split the milk.
Keri, do you want to play your Curds Right? Let's go. What temperature does the milk have to reach?
60.
67 degrees, what?
Oh, Fahrenheit?
It's Celsius, I'm afraid. How long does it have to stay at that heat?
5 years.
20 seconds. And then they have to cool it to what temperature?
The temperature of Justin's heart?
It's 30 degrees. I liked it when George was asking her about the curds. And he went, I'd say they're firm, bouncy. I love getting my hands on them. And afterwards you smell a cheese. Look, she's going, George, we're not talking about Fallon. We're talking about the curds.
You've been wanking again. Yeah.
Oh, that's a horrible flashback. It just made me remember the awful, awful couple of weeks when George was pining after Fallon. That was so cringeworthy.
He just said out loud what Matthew's thinking.
I wrote that script.
Yeah. I liked it when he said, so what do curds feel like? Curdy?
Do you not think he was making some good points, though? I mean, it's actually true.
That you would ask that sort of question, do you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, all he wants is his party, though, doesn't he? He was buttering her up. Like, shall I test you? And I'd really like my party at your house.
He said it's not absolutely in no way going to be a rave. So it's definitely going to be a rave.
Yes.
There's going to be people ODing on vape. George is going to be dealing curds out the back.
Are they doing Facebook parties about 10 years too late?
Oh, probably.
3,000 people show up and there's a police helicopter. Harrison would be like,
yeah, exactly.
Everyone disperse. This is a civil matter.
Yeah, at the wrong house, probably.
Yeah.
Everyone who likes Eurovision, go to the right. Everyone who likes the coronation, over to the left.
He'll be terrorising the people at the Laurels, won't he, in the police helicopter?
Let's be having you. Get your pills out here.
They almost look like real old people, don't they, Gaffer?
All these accents, I'm very confused now. I don't know where I am anymore. He sounded he was off. He suddenly was in a Guy Ritchie movie.
I would rather Harrison's doing a Eurovision party than a coronation party, though. That bit where Justin was like, "Do you know what? It was the first time I had awareness of what it is to be a complete Tory bootlicker."
It was quite funny.
Did it not turn your stomach listening to all that coronation stuff?
Makes me nervous about how they're going to deal with it in the Archers. And also, we're going to have 6 to 8 weeks of not Christmas, but Eurovision build-up.
Oh, I was just going to say, do either of you watch Eurovision?
Yes.
Peter?
I've tried about 4 times, and every time I'm like, no. And I've done the Wogan one. I've done Norton. I liked Terry Wogan, and I like Graham Norton. But, watching sort of, I don't know, some band called something like Svangard dressed up like Vikings, kind of like with lasers in the background, caterwauling.
They won it.
Yeah. I've been watching it since the 70s. I liked it before it was ironic.
You were there, weren't you, Keri?
Were you in Svangard? Latvian. I got it wrong. It was Latvian, wasn't it?
No, it was. They were Finland, and they were called Lordi. Is the band?
That's it.
But me and my brother, we used to watch it when it was properly, hours long and no hint of irony because it was so bizarre. We knew it was terrible.
We said last week that Cheltenham is huge in Ireland. I would argue that Eurovision is huger.
Yeah.
It's insanely popular over there because they won it so many times.
We've had score sheets for years and years and years. I managed to get my kids into it. It's truly horrific and great. A bit like the Archers, really. I bet you Cyrus would like it, Peter, if you You know, at some sort of I don't know, he may be a bit young, but not far into the future, you'll be able to introduce him, and then you'll like it because
He does like
it's
to sing song.
yeah.
But you just made me realise, I was about to say, like, "Oh, I'm not able to sort of enjoy that kind of so bad it's good phenomena," and then you just reminded me.
You're doing a podcast about the
Yes,
Archers.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, maybe I."
Personally, last year I reckon Peter was ducking out into the hallway and making multiple phone votes for Spain. Do you remember their ass party?
I'm a real prude. I'm a real prude. I'm like, do you know, I'm most like the Dutch, where I kind of will defend people's right to do whatever they want to the hilt, but I'm actually quite judgy when it comes to like excessive nudity or kind of like, you know.
What's your idea of excessive nudity? Is it like an ankle or something?
No, I mean, yeah, curvy furniture is a incredibly.
Right,
I'm with the
turn on.
Victorians. Exactly, yeah. That's way too much. I go off like a bottle rocket. Yeah.
Speaking of furniture, I was thinking, like, the way Brian's going, you know, he's getting rid of all clutter. He doesn't want anything
Mm,
around him. He's going to be sitting in Blossom Hill Cottage in some sort of Nordic minimalist Zen type place, isn't he? And soon he'll just forget that Jennifer existed. There'll be no objects reminding him of her around him,
yes.
other than the house he's actually sitting in. But
You know the 80-20 rule, like 20% of the effort gets you 80% of the end product. And the flip side, it takes 80% of the effort to get the remaining 20%. And it's like, yes, this boil in the bag lasagna is fairly mediocre, but I haven't had to listen to Jenny for 5 days previously to get it. Like, I think he's going to be a very happy man. I'm really down on Jenny
mm,
now. I'm sorry. This is I know I've said this every week, but I'm over it. Just please, can Debbie go back to Hungary? Can Brian shack up with Joy, even if it's just once a week for a bit of a fumble, whatever. Anyway,
he probably sounded like he had a fondness for her. I know all he was saying was, "Would you like a cup of tea or coffee?" I was in the middle of making one. I
yeah,
just thought he didn't have to say that, did he? He quite
no,
likes her company, and she was like, "Oh yes," wittering on about her having bought loads of secondhand clothing over the years and cashmere sweaters and goodness knows what, getting a right thrill out of the fact that they're like a tenth of the cost that they would be. Just wittering nonsense, wasn't it? Chatty Cathy type stuff. But he quite enjoyed it.
like Peggy didn't like her. Peggy's an absolute asshole.
Yeah.
Helen and Lee. Lee's a bit nice to Helen. Helen's been horrible to Joy, so Helen's an
She's a
asshole.
twat. Yeah.
David's renaissance, his return from being a dickhead from years to being actually quite a likable character the last few months started when he had his rapprochement when he
Mm.
saw the light and liked Joy. I think this is
Mhm.
an unimpeachable theory. If someone likes Joy and
Yeah.
is nice to Joy, they are a good character, and vice versa.
Correct. Yeah. And I like Joy, so I'm great.
And you like Brian,
Oh dear. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
It's not really like though, is it, Gary?
Well,
What
you
you feel
know.
towards Brian? It's sort of, yeah, more
I don't know
basic.
how I can still like Joy with the prospect of those two getting it on, straddling him on that wingback chair.
The electric recliner that he's going to get.
Yeah, this is all very metaphorical, isn't it? He wants things that are suiting him now. That's what he said, didn't he? He said those words.
And he hates the house. He hates the house because it symbolizes his failure. It's about he
Yes.
let Jenny down, and that house is the most tangible example, apart from obviously the house they lost, of his failure. So he wants a shot of it.
He described the cottage as wretched, didn't he?
Yes.
Mm.
I bet it's
Yeah,
probably quite
well.
nice.
Yeah, relatively speaking to most people's homes, it's probably
Yeah.
Mm.
desirable, isn't it?
It's one thing that's left to the imagination, isn't it, really, what the insides of their houses look like? Because I know the BBC posts up artwork of what Ambridge and the different
I don't like
farms and
that.
houses look like, and we know
Mm.
what the actors look like, but
Follow the actors. You're happy to think that, for instance, Fallon looks like Natasha Van Kampen, or however you're supposed to say her name. I always get it wrong. Did I get it wrong right this time?
No, Joanna Van Kampen.
There you go. I always get it wrong. But you're happy to think they look like the actors, aren't you? Whereas I find it quite irritating. I don't want to know what the houses look like. I don't want to be told.
I've finally come round to Chris, who hasn't been in it for a while, by the way.
Phew.
I finally stopped seeing Mackenzie Crook from The Office when I hear Chris talking. I've seen him in like Star Wars and stuff like that now, so I've kind of got my head around him being Chris. I can see it just.
To me, they all look like the actors.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that, but some people don't like that, do they? I mean, the thing that I was trying to imagine today,
It's
because
simpler that way.
yeah, I mean, I thought about them like Brian saying "wretched cottage," and then it cut. There was, I don't know if it was the same episode, but Clary she's always peeling vegetables, isn't she? Like she's always having to peel some form of root vegetable, or plant a root vegetable, or cook a root vegetable. I was just trying to imagine what their kitchen setup is.
Were you? And what did you imagine?
I imagined she tries to keep it methodically clean, and Eddie comes in with dirty boots and fucks everything up.
Yeah. In my mind, there's sort of socks everywhere and sort of, cups that have got loads of tea stains inside left on windowsills. And I think it's chaos.
I think it's like my grand's old sort of like farmhouse kitchen, where it's not an Aga, but it's a range, and it's like manky old tiles. It's no longer grout in between them. It's kind of like, just decades of dirt. And, the wood is all kind of like has been 5 different colours in its lifetime. It was just a very, very old cottage, and had never been redecorated. So all of the tiles and all of the wood was kind of like worn and miscoloured and then recoloured, and not filthy and dirty, just like incredibly hard worn, and like you're saying, boots have been stomped in and out of it, dogs everywhere.
Yeah, really sort of inappropriate objects in wrong places. That's how I imagine. Like sort of there'll be a can of WD-40 sort of in the fridge. I don't know.
You're going to say that.
Did you? Do you know what I mean though? Like where people just dump stuff, and poor old Clary is definitely trying to keep it okay, but it is, and probably an error, a clothes horse of washing, like next to the little Formica table. I don't know, just loads of stuff going on. Not Brian's Zen Nordic Nirvana that he's hoping for.
Brian's like that vacuum I got off eBay, no attachments. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, Keri, you ridiculed me a minute ago for trying to imagine what the Grundy's kitchen looked like, and then went off on a rant about what it looked like for 5 minutes.
Yes, I'm now imagining everyone's I'll tell you what I was doing. I was imagining your two's interiors. I have been in yours, Matthew. Haven't visited Peter's home. I imagine Peter's to be lots of quite clear surfaces, but really good objects on them. No sort of terrible thing. Oh, right. Some kids stuff around.
Absolute shithole.
No, it's not.
Every single surface is covered in just endless shite. We haven't moved in properly yet. And we have a toddler.
Are you sure?
Yeah, honestly, it's very untidy.
Does it mess with your mental health, like untidiness? It does with me. I get all twitchy.
Yeah. The thing is, we moved in, and then just people have been visiting. We haven't had time, but life has been busy. But anyway, that was kitchen chat on the Cider Shed.
Someone on Twitter did say, "Will we have a jingle for cheese chat?" And I was like, "Don't tempt us."
We import 2/3 of our cheese. That is a disgrace.
Well, if it comes back next week, maybe Matthew and I can work on a cheese chat jingle. But I don't think we do jingles for one-offs.
Do you think when actual punters come to the window for cheese chat, it's going to be milked to the hilt? Are we going to hear people asking questions, and Clary and Susan really sort of not being able to deal with it? They're not allowed to chat, are they? Helen has said they can't have chit chat.
I saw that, no talking. How did you fucking float that idea at the meeting, you fucking Nazi?
It's probably against the law, isn't it?
Helen is against the law.
Surely it's against the law to tell your staff they're not allowed to talk to each other while they're working.
We had a staff handbook when I was a chef at Harvey Nichols, and there was a section called fraternisation, and it said while While inter-work relationships are encouraged, taking it beyond that is frowned upon. Doesn't really work with chefs and the wait staff, you know?
Was it a ham book? That's a tumbleweed moment, isn't it?
Yeah, send me those bells, Peter.
So,
Get him in there. Should we chuck an ad in and then do a little bit of a media roundup?
yeah, come and find us and have a right little play at the Side Shed Pod on the Twitters. We're doing super well there, and we've got, let me tell you, 3,229 followers now. So it's increasing still daily. We don't have any new reviews this week. So if you do fancy giving us a 5-star review, the instructions on how to do so are always attached to every episode, and we would love it. And it helps us enormously if you do that. Thank you.
Our Instagram, or Jimstagram, as Peter now wants it to be known, is the same as Twitter, at the Cider Shed Pod. 790 followers, just shy of 800. Although one of those does seem to be a sex bot, who I'm now going to block. And someone got in touch. Who was it? Was it Vincent? Let me have a look. He said, George is back, in all caps, on the 22nd of March episode. I feel like that's the first appearance in 2023. No Tracy or Jazzer, for that matter. Do we think it's been that long since we last heard from George? Possible, I guess.
It was a surprise to hear him, wasn't it?
And it was, like we said before we started recording, it was nice to just to sprinkle a little bit of George and Chelsea into the week. Yeah, we didn't even mention Chelsea, did we?
Ah, yes.
She showed up, didn't she, at the end? Like, knocked on the door and Jim let her in. She was like, all right, Jim, I brought that hydrogen peroxide from the hairdressers you wanted. Thought he was going to blow the place. Anyway, we got a Facebook group called the Cider Shed Podcast.
I thought Chelsea was going to, just very quickly, was going to make his social media fire and just stay in there with him and just like go, wow. And it would just go ding, 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 get loads of hits and be amazing.
I was very relieved that didn't happen.
And what she said to him, can you dance? Can you do pranks? Are you famous? And then she told him his top hat, which David fantasized about knocking off his head earlier in the week. It was kind of a letdown. I wonder what he's going to do next then.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. What is he going to do?
She was saying tune into the things you're good at. I was like, what is he going to do with that?
Not the first time Chelsea's f***ed that family.
Tumbleweed yourself, Matthew.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
What? No, but no, it wasn't bad. It was just like such a massive gear change. It was kind of like, we'd sort of whimsically.
Thinking about Jim, and then suddenly,
then you come like with both feet. You Graham Souness us with a.
Suddenly, we're imagining Chelsea and Ben shagging.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matthew.
That's right. You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll see, won't we? What Jim will do.
I think last week we forgot to say thank you to our Patreon contributors. It's hugely appreciated. Makes a massive, massive difference to us. So getting this done every week keeps our morale topped up. And yeah, if you want to give us a hand, then please go to patreon.com/the Cider Shed. It's hugely appreciated, as I just said.
It's not a hand, really. It's money. So yeah.
Yeah. Kenny Higgs said was I think it was Kenny anyway, was sticking the boot into people on Twitter saying, don't say that you need it for upkeep. Don't say you need it for the running of the show. Just say you want the money and you're grateful for
there
it.
You go.
And that's
me
exactly.
And Kenny, we message each other a lot. So I love that I'm in tune with his sensibilities there.
The most honest thing that we did was when we said, like, we actually spend a shitload of time doing this thing. We've got a new patron who does only seem to be known as Ryan, but he became a patron this week. So thanks very much to him. And and if you want to send us an email or anything, it's hello@thecidershed.com.
No one does.
No, they don't. They don't very often. I don't think they think we're very reactive to the email, but we can be. Send us an email.
No, we've pretty much always responded to the emails. It's just that all of our traction, all of our interaction happens on social media these days, which I guess is true to life. Yeah,
we get big old DM slides. Yeah, most of it comes through that. There's no
Yeah.
football chat this week because it's international break.
Mm.
Peter, try to hide your disappointment there.
Oh no, I really want to hear about how I'm shit.
Well, I mean, if I hold my phone upside down, you're champions.
Thank you.
Oh, what do you mean? Like people might see in Australia?
Yes, well, Keri is still my outro. Yeah. So Keri might or might not be around for the next 3 weeks. Last week I tried to do this and say, we'll see what happens, technology permitting. She might be on the show, she might not be. But just on the off chance that we can't make it work, Keri, have an amazing time. I hope just have an amazing time.
Yeah, just having, like having 2 weeks off of life, let alone going to Australia. That's quite nice, isn't it? Where you just don't work, you don't have to think about anyone else.
1 week till the Easter holidays.
I'm looking forward to that, and I'm going to Australia. So,
Nice.
yeah, it's one of those. I can't get my head around the fact that I am going to Sydney at all on a 22-hour flight. Imagine. Have you done long haul much? Maybe. Oh, you
Yeah,
have, because you lived in America, didn't you? But
I used to go backwards and forwards to Australia quite a lot, yeah.
cool. Okay.
Malaysian Airlines, funnily enough.
Fiji's my longest, and that was absolutely brutal.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Have you got any tips?
I just
Don't eat.
Don't?
Apparently, they reckon that's a better way to get over jet lag, is because the body gets confused about when you start taking
For
fuel.
22 hours?
Obviously, you're going to eat. I just said it to get you kind of murderous, Keri.
I think just enjoy it. 22 hours, sat still with a book, lovely.
I know, we've got stuff downloaded, I've got podcasts to listen to, I've got audio books. Yeah, imagine sitting still for 22 hours. Yeah. Anyway, so I might see you next week. No, not next week. I'll be dead. But the week after, who knows? I'll put some sort of content from me in Australia will happen.
Well, we'll make sure it's still here when you get back anyway, Keri, whatever happens.
Can you give me your best Aussie accent?
Ripper? No, that's bad, isn't it? I'm trying to think of an Australian word. I don't know. Oh, knows. What do they say in Australia? I don't know.
Stop the boats.
Stop the boats, mate, would you?
Stop the boats, mate. Yeah.
Come on, cobber.
Anyway, with that topical gag, I shall bid everyone farewell. Have a lovely evening.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all next week.
See you on the other side.
See you, everyone. Bye.
Hello.